being in the legislature for 10 years, in what way were you not part of the dysfunction? What did you do to kind of, let's say, fight that, change that?
Yes. I have been, for nearly 20 years in public service, and certainly the last 10 in the State Assembly, as an independent of a person as you can find in politics. There have been many people who have been elected with the right ideals, with the right frame of mind, and they're going to fight the system. And I've seen it happen over 20 years. And somehow when they get elected, they become consumed by the politics. And they all of a sudden become like wide-eyed, you know, when they talk to the county leader, or wide-eyed when they talk to this powerful individual. You know, when I came into politics in 1991, when I ran for city council, I always said that I didn't run for office because I like politics, but to the contrary, I ran for office because I didn't like politics. And I made a promise to myself that if elected, I would never become just another politician. I could become 100 other bad things, but I would not just become another cheap politician. And hopefully in 20 years, knock on wood, that has happened. And if it hasn't changed in 20 years, I don't believe I'm going to change now. My belief has always been on public service. I don't believe in power, because power without commitment means nothing anyway.
But why is it that you have not, certainly in terms of any public persona, been seen as a crusader against the existing order in Albany?
Well, I've you know, spoken out about it as much as I could have, but the reality is that there's an element that just you can't change. I'm one of 212 up in Albany, and no matter how hard you try, you know, certain things will not change. And certain things, in all fairness, and certain things are not as bad as the perception, you know, gives it. I mean, perception is a very powerful thing in politics, as it is in life. But the perception is not always the reality. And the reality is that, for example, the late budgets. Sure, there are late budgets up in Albany, but at the same time...
But regularly.
Right.
Not in the rare instance.
Right.
This is pretty much standard operating procedure
years,
up there.
And for a couple of years we had it on time, and now it's late again. The reality is that April 1st, it's not a realistic deadline. This is the budget that comes out in late January. This is a budget that can be amended in late February. So you really, late February is when the budget process sort of like begins, as far as for the legislature, the governor all year round, but the legislature. In 5 weeks is just not realistic. I mean, 46 out of 50 states in the union, 46 do July 1st, and one does September 1st, and 2 of them do October 1st. So we are, out of 50 states, not only the earliest, but the earliest by 3 months. And so somehow, and there's been talk about changing the deadline instead of April 1st to May 1st. I would go to June 1st or July 1st. And I know that conflicts with the school districts and how they send out their tax bills and blah, blah, blah. But reality is that it's a very complex budget, and it's not fair to ask us to just pop it up in a few weeks.
As you survey the field of your opponents, how do you kind of handicap that race?
Well, again, the Congressman Rangel.
No, but he, okay, I mean,
Yeah, he's the one to beat.
But other than Rangel, I mean, because there are, how many, first of all, how many people do you expect to be in it?
Well, right now you have 3 other people besides Rangel and I, so that's a total of 5. But you have to wait and see how viable they will be if they raise any money, even a little bit.
So, for
if
example,
they
do
gather
you think Bill Perkins, who's not in it
running.
now?
No.
He's not going to run?
No, I don't think he's going to run this summer. I mean, it's already middle of June.
Okay. And anyone else possibly
Nobody
getting
else. I don't think nobody else will jump in anymore. This is the middle of June, and if they do, I don't see them getting any traction. I think, and I don't mean this in an arrogant or cocky way, but I think the race is between Congressman Rangel and myself. I think most people have come to realize that. Sure, there are other candidates. We have yet to see if they're going to make the ballot, so to speak, or become a candidate. But the reality is that I'm the one that brings 20 years of public service. I'm the one that I ran before in 1994 for Congress. Same scenario against Congressman Rangel. But back then he won. Obviously, I lost. But nevertheless, it was a very spirited debate. He had 56%. I ended up with about 36, and a third candidate had 8. And so this time, we believe 16 years have passed, and things could be very, very different. He's no longer chairman of Ways and Means. The turmoil that he has around him certainly isn't helpful for the voters in the district. I mean, it's time to turn the page. He's had a good legacy. 40 years undoubtedly creates one. But many people are saying it is now time to turn the page. Look, everybody knows that change is coming. Even Congressman Rangel himself acknowledges it. The question is when and who.
Well, in that group that's running, many people believe that there's at least one candidate, and they aren't necessarily agreed on who that is, that's running so as to further split the anti-Rangel vote. Do you believe there is such a person running, and who would that be?
Well, I think anytime you run against an incumbent, sure, you'd like to have a one-on-one race because there is an anti-incumbent vote, and you like to gather all of it. But I think voters are smarter than we give them credit for. I really, truly believe that. I've seen that happen. So I'm not worried about another candidate being in there to split the anti-incumbent vote. I don't think any other candidates were plugged in by the machine or by Congressman Rangel. So I think they're really there out of their own free will. And I think voters are smart. Look, if voters want to turn the page, they know that there's only one candidate that can do so.